Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is my third tournament back in competitive chess, and I'm currently in a small town in Italy, and this is my third round recap of the Spilimbergo Open 2024. I'm happy to report that last night I got my best sleep since traveling, so right around the 3 day mark. Previously, I was sleeping like an hour and a half, and then another hour and a half, 2 hours right before waking up. So it's been kind of tough to play on 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. But last night I was completely dead. Yesterday there were two games in one day, and my game time totaled like 8.5 hours. We, the 23 and 2400 players, we work harder than the 2700s. All right, they never have to play 8, 9 hours in one day. I'm just saying. So I managed to get some decent sleep, and this is the third round game. Friendly reminder: courses 33% off during the tournament. Have to plug it, and I've also got to plug the Patreon where I'm posting my unfiltered thoughts during the event. So I've got 1.5 out of 2, second round draw versus a 2200 rated player from Ecuador, and in this round I had the misfortune, you might say, of seeing that my pairing was a young man from India. Now, the crazy thing about playing teenagers from India is this. So in 2019, I played a tournament in the Czech Republic, and I was playing somebody whose rating was 2100 from India. And even then, before the pandemic, before the chess boom, this young man, after he beat me, became 2400 like less than a year later. This opponent, whose name is Shaikh Sumer Arsh, maybe it's Arsh Shaikh. This young man has an article written about him on ChessBase India, and he also played a tournament. Listen to this. Listen to how crazy this is. He played a tournament in India in February of this year, and he lost like 120 rating points to like 1600 rated Indians because they're not actually 1600, because they're like probably 2100 strength. And he just played a tournament in France a few weeks before this tournament. He beat 3 title players, 3 people rated 2400. So the kid knows how to freaking play. You know what I mean? And the thing when you play Indians is you have no idea what their true strength is. Like, I don't think he's going to be a candidate player or a world champion, but he's probably 23, 2400 strength. So I was a bit annoyed. And I was like, oh boy. So he might have been intimidated playing on a camera, or maybe he was hyped to play me. I don't know, but I was terrified to play him. We were equally terrified to play each other. Of course, I'm joking. And I had a strategy, and my strategy was, what can a young player from India be good at? Probably opening preparation and calculation and tactics. So what do I have to do? Play in a way that the opening doesn't matter, and play kind of like an endgame positional game. So I played knight f3. I didn't feel like playing, some sort of theoretical line in d4 c4. I had 1 hour to prepare for this game because my previous game went 5 hours. So I played knight f3. I saw in the database that he played d5 bishop g4 like 2 years ago, but I thought 2 years ago when you're his age is like 100 years. So, he's 15, so that was ages ago, so he's probably going to change something up. And the biggest decision for me before the game, was like, do I play pure ready, which is g3, bishop g2 and castle? Or do I play e3 and try to play kind of one of these Englishes? So I played e3, and to my shock, he played what was in the database from a couple of years ago that I didn't look at because I was like, this is not a good line. He's not going to play this. He played that back when he doesn't play anything, like normal. No, he went bishop g4. Now, bishop g4 is slightly better against g3. It makes a little bit less sense against e3 because my whole plan is to go here and ultimately here. And this is a huge committal move, because I'm going to immediately play c4, queen b3. So all I remembered about this is like, it's not good. I'm like, okay, it's not good. So I play c4. He played c6. And here I have a lot of options. I can play queen b3. I can also just play like d4 and play like a regular queen to pawn game. But I know that the best way to take advantage of this is to basically play queen b3. So I did that. I had another idea to maybe play h3 first. And if he plays bishop h5, I even thought about some lines where you can play g4. But I think that's actually better in this version, like to do something like this. I mean, this is obviously all completely equal, but you just take the bishop and then you go here. and then you play like normal game. I mean, you just have the bishop pair. Maybe this was worth playing because it's not theoretical, and it would have made him at least my game plan, right? I don't know how good his positional skills are, but it's a little bit easier to play than calculations. But okay, I played c4, he played c6, I went queen b3. Normal. And a move that I did not think he was going to play is queen b6. He played this move, he thought for a little bit, he played it. And I just remember this being not that good for black. Not that good. I mean, it's not better, much better or anything, but so then I started calculating and I was like, okay, here are my ideas. I can take on d5. I can play knight e5 first so he cannot take me. The concrete idea of knight e5 is basically if we trade, I'm going to play bishop b5 check, and I think this is a problem. Or knight c3 first, and then after e6, bishop b5 check, and he cannot play bishop back. So I started thinking about knight e5. I didn't play knight e5 because I thought he can just play like here, and something like bishop e6, f6, bishop f7, e5. I thought, if I take, he can even take with the bishop. Knight c3, my pawn is hanging. So I was like, all right, this doesn't look, why would I, I didn't think knight e5 just made much sense because I thought he just retreats and it's completely normal. Then I thought about taking on d5. He obviously can't take. He has to trade the queen first. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to take. He's going to take my queen. I'm going to take. He's going to take my knight first. Otherwise, I play knight e5 successfully. Take, pawn takes. And then I'm going to play knight c3. And I was like, I'm going to play knight c3, attacking the pawn, and I'm threatening knight b5. And that looks pretty good for me. So I'm going to do that. So I played pawn takes d5. All of that happened. And he played it pretty quickly. Like, he took this, and took this. And I was just sitting there like, sorry, isn't he just in a problem here? Because what I saw from a distance was knight c3, right? Knight c3, knight f6, knight b5, attacking this pawn and a fork, king d7. And so here I thought his plan was rook a7, knight a7, and something like e6. I thought this was the point, that his prep was to lose a pawn, but to get a huge amount of development. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm a pawn up. Like, how bad can it be? Granted, they're doubled, but... So I thought this was his point. I thought, like, this is what we're going for. And then he played this, and I was like, wait, how does he stop knight b5, knight c7? What is he doing? If knight b5, king d7, this is a different version because he never developed his knight. So I thought, all right, is that his idea? And then he went here. Now, I saw this from a distance, but I thought it just didn't work. Like, I thought the point was to play king d7. I thought the point was to lose the pawn, get compensation, but I was like, I'm a pawn up, so it's life. But he went here, and, the obvious tactic here is to sack the rook. And I'm literally up a piece. I'm just up a full piece. And I'm threatening his pawn. I was like, he's not going to go for this. This is bad. But he was clearly going for it. So then, I don't know how much time I spent on my next move, but it felt like an hour. I thought for 30 minutes. And I calculated rook a6, pawn takes, knight c7, king d7, knight a8, and then something like pawn to a5 or bishop to b4, preventing me from playing d4. And I could not believe the lines. He had enough time to trap my knight in the corner and save his pawn. And not only that, he also just very easily develops his entire position. I mean, I calculated rook a6, pawn a6, knight c7, king d7, knight a8. Then I calculated a5 here. And I was going to play bishop b5 check to force the king to go to c8. I was considering playing bishop a6, king b8, so the king has to take the knight. But then I was like, why am I going to force that? So bishop b5, king c8. Then I was going to go d4. I thought he would play bishop b4 check, bishop to d2. In this position, he would play king b7. I would play rook g1 attacking this pawn. Pawn here. Then I thought, wait, I would like to play rook g4. So how about instead of d4, I play d3? And then he's going to play bishop b4 check, bishop d2, king b7, rook g1, g6, and I'm going to play rook g4. And then I had to calculate f5 and h5 to make sure my rook wasn't trapped. And then I was like, okay, then what if he takes, and then he tries to win my knight? right? Or let's say he plays knight f6. Knight f6 actually doesn't work because I have rook f4. So let's say he plays knight h6. Okay, I'm going to play rook a4. Then I was like, oh my god, I can't do this because my bishop is getting trapped if I put the pawn on d3. So what I want y'all to understand is, if I think for 30 minutes, like you're watching at home, right? Chess has sort of become a spectator sport. So there's a lot of comments. There's a lot of thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of positive comments. But I really get fascinated when I read comments like, well, you need to just play certain openings better, or you need a new coach. I love my coach. You need to do this better. You need to. Y'all don't know a damn thing. Like, and this is me. I'm a 2370 rated player. Can you imagine how a 2770 rated player calculates? Like, this is how I'm calculating. I'm calculating 20 moves in total deep down a certain line, you know, trying to figure things out. And I mean, can you imagine how they think? So just let us play the game. You know what I mean? Anyway, as it turns out, what I had not seen is after rook a6, this a5, I have a crazy idea here, which really blew my mind. The computer wants me to play b4. Unbelievable. And the point is, yeah, I'm going to lose the knight. But the time it's going to take my opponent to take my pawn, I'm going to put this bishop on this diagonal, and I'm going to have a slightly better position. Knight e7, bishop b2. Like, I'm going to lose the knight, but I'm going to improve my position the right way. I'm going to put... Now, the crazy thing is he doesn't have to play a5. What he can play instead of a5 is he can play bishop b4. He can straight up lose this pawn, and after knight f6, rook g1, g6, something like king e2, rook a8, I'm not any better here. It's insane. He gives me the bishop pair and an extra pawn. I have no advantage. Just puts the king on e7. Rock solid. I hate chess. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could not believe it. So I thought for 30 minutes. I didn't think rook a6 worked. I was so annoyed because if rook a6 doesn't work, I'm not better at all. At all. Because I have two sets of doubled pawns, which is not good. I mean, I have the bishop pair, but this is hardly going to leave an impression on anybody. And the thing is, if I'm not better here, so I played d4, I thought it was a natural move. The computer doesn't like it. I actually thought he should play king d7 here, and I was thinking that's what he would do. I thought it was the most flexible move to like slowly prepare to put the knight here, but maybe knight e7. Yeah, so I thought he should play king d7 with the idea to play knight e7, knight c6, knight b4. I thought that's what he should do. And I was ready to play rook a4, bishop d2, fight for the b4 square. So he gave me a check. Here, I actually really wanted to play king d1. I had like some weird feeling this was the right move. It's all equal, but basically I don't rush with the bishop trade, so I can play like knight c3, pawn e4, and you know I'm going to open the center, and that's how I'm going to use my bishop pair. I'm going to have more pawns in the center. So I calculated that, but the thing is, I was already so tired from my first round game. I was so sleep deprived, and I was so pissed off that this opening worked like a charm for him. And remember, my whole thing this game was going to be play a slow positional game. And immediately, like, chess sometimes just works where you have one chance in the opening, and if you don't take it, it's just equal. Sometimes it's equal with some play, but what I got here did not feel like I had a huge amount of play. He went knight c7 here, moving the knight out of the way. I retreated my knight so that my light-squared bishop would have attacked his knight. Then I went rook a4, which turns out to be a slight mistake here, but I thought it made sense to make him play a5. I thought this pawn could be a target if I ever put my bishop there. It could also let me, I could play b4 in the future. I thought the pawn was better for me on a5 than on a7, and worst comes to worst, I would move the rook back. Whatever. It's, computer thinks somehow this is like microscopically better for white, for black rather. It thinks here it's like minus 0.3, which is relatively equal. You notice I'm down 40 minutes on the clock, by the way. I was getting very, very agitated for multiple reasons this game. But yeah, this was, and so here I decided, like, look, he's going to play nice. I'm just going to play king. I played this move pretty quickly. And look, I decided here, like, we're gonna play the rest of this game extremely fast. I'm not going to think much. I'm gonna play every move very quickly. The position's obviously about equal. I'll play f4, so he can't play e5. And actually, I thought if anybody has the play here, it's black. Because what can I do? I mean, I'm frozen. Like, I have a okay setup of pieces, but he kind of controls the pawn breaks. This is not a pawn break, but it's an advancement. I can't really move anything. Here, I wanted to play f4, but I rejected this because I actually thought, like, maybe he can even prepare e5. Computer doesn't agree, but it's all equal. It's all equal. And so here I played knight b5. And knight b5 was effectively my attempt at killing the game. And I was like, okay, we're going to trade some pieces here. We're going to go for a rook endgame. He took on d2, which I thought was fine. Here, for whatever reason, I took on c7 first. I think it's like my brain said if I take on d2, he's going to go here, and then he's going to put this knight on b4, and now my pieces really suck. And yeah, I'm right. I mean, he's going to just dominate this square. So what I did is I traded the knight, so at least I guaranteed I would get the trade. And so, I control b5 pretty well. The idea is maybe to bring the rook back. This is an endgame that white or black really only lose if they significantly overextend or if they blunder something. I'm still, down a good amount on the clock, but I thought this endgame, I shouldn't lose. Then my opponent started doing unbelievable things, like getting my hopes all the way back up from 0. So first he played here. He spent 16 minutes on that move, which I didn't understand at all. I mean, I thought, okay, he could play anything. I mean, he can play king b6, king d6. He could start even maybe taking some space on this side. Just for the record, this is not a free pawn. My bishop gets trapped. This is the Bobby Fischer bishop trap. I thought for a little while here, I thought the endgame move, which made sense, was h4. And it is the top engine move. I played this move relatively quickly. I think I understood it was the best move because he really shouldn't let me take space. In a worst nightmare scenario, what he does is this. And, now all of a sudden I'm just straight up going to win his pawn probably, which is really unpleasant. So he played what I thought was fine, h5. And I don't have to play the move that I played here. It was actually very hard for me to understand. I was like, should I force him to play g6 too? Or should I leave the pawn on g7? On the one hand, I don't want to force him. I don't want to force his hand to defend his pawn. On the other hand, if he plays g6, he cannot play f6, g5. He also, in some lines, my bishop could get there and hungry hippo him, like, wah, wah, wah. That's not hungry hippo, but so I played rook g1. I didn't think much. You see, my time is the same here. I played this move like pretty quickly too. Here he thought, hold on some of the next moves, he thought an unbelievable amount of time. Yeah, it's gonna start pretty soon. So I played f4, played b6, and I played rook c3. And again, position is dead draw. We have equal rights for the file here. One way he could run into trouble if he's like a complete idiot, which he's not, is he could like accidentally blunder this, which is what I was holding out. Like that's why I tried to put his pawns on light squares. But bishop b5. He went back. I went back. You'll notice I'm not thinking at all, and you may notice that I'm now up on time. So I had 35 minutes versus 1:15 on the clock in a position where he didn't really need to think that much. So somewhere around here, I also was like, why did he undouble my pawns? So him being down on time and basically helping me improve my position every single move, I'm starting to think this young man might completely self-destruct. Like, you give me a couple more moves, for example, like if you give me this, like I'm suddenly doing some stuff in the position. I mean, this could get really bad for black really quickly. So he's getting my hopes up. Then he plays knight f5. And so knight f5, I can play my rook over and defend. But I said, okay, let's just take. This is just the draw. He also told me after the game he was considering gf5, which would have been amazing because he would have allowed me to go to the g file. Of course, he can then play b5, king c2, a4. Here I was going to go king b2. This is just the draw. But he told me after the game he was considering this, and I was like, what? He was considering this? Why didn't he go for it? I would have loved if he did this. But he took with the e-pawn, and now the position is kind of dead. Except it's not. And except in this position, I actually got what I kind of wanted. And point being, he doesn't get to move his pawns that easily. And this position is just great for white, because if he's not careful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. And he does not want to play this endgame. I mean, I have more pawns than him. So I played c4. He played this, which I thought was a smart move. And I missed a very important detail in this position. So the point is he's trying to go here, right? And again, look at the time. So I worked my way all the way back to this position, 20 versus 7. 20 versus 7. After being down so much time and having a really bad opening. I mean, I made a huge comeback. The position's, of course, still pretty equal. But there's a very important detail here. So it feels more natural to follow the black king. But what's funny is I should play king d3. And the reason I should play king d3 is because I want him to go b5. And what I do now is I take my eyes off the a-pawn and play rook c1. And if king b4, I play rook c3. And my idea is that I play king c2 defending the pawn, and then I try to attack his weakness. So the point is that I play king d3, anticipating pawn to b5. I do not take this pawn, but I take that pawn, play rook c1, rook c3, king c2. That's a little bit goofy. And the point is, if I take this way and play f3, e4, he would play a4. And so for a long time, I was thinking this was really interesting. I was thinking rook a4, ba4, king here, king here, king here. I'm winning. Because I'm just going to win his pawn. But, well, this is this. But I was like, wait a minute. Am I winning? Oops. Now it's, g6, h3. In this version, I'm winning, but there are versions where I'm not winning. Like, in this version, it's still a win, but we're both getting queens. So I was starting to think, like, all these different transformations. I played king c3, so it's just equal. I didn't see this idea of putting my rook. I thought the rook really should fight off his advancement. He went here, and here I can kill the game by going here. This is just, I mean, he can't break through. I can't break through. It's just the draw. But I thought I would keep it interesting for one more move, and I played pawn to f3. He could play here pawn takes b4, but this is just bad because his pawns get blocked, and then I play e4. I thought there was many ways that he could potentially screw this up. Like he could play take. I thought here I'm actually making some advancements. But he played the best way. He played here, took, and king b6. I didn't think that he would do this, but the point is now he wants to play rook c8 and rook c3. And so I figured, okay, gotta push my pawn, gotta put my king here, gotta protect myself. And he can play king b5 and keep trying to push and try to queen his pawn. Then I will try to queen my pawn. He played f6. And here, the only thing I can do is play rook b2, rook b1. And I basically sit and I wait. Is he gonna do something or not? So rook b2, king b5. And here he can try to go after my pawns, but I think I have e4. And if he goes after my h-pawn, I think I play like e5. Okay, e5, there is rook d2. But I play rook d1, and I'm winning. Unbelievable. Rook h4, king e3, e5. Look at that. So he tries to go here. Take, d6. So if he tries to play for a win, my pawn monstrosity in the center will march through. If he plays a4, I will play take, and d6. And actually, I'm winning. Like, because his king is too far. So it looked like he was making a lot of momentum into my position, but as it turns out, I have actually quite a bit of sneaky counterplay, and he repeated moves. And we both played at 98% and a draw. This was a very odd game because in the opening, he played in a way that I thought was just. I mean, he played in a way where with absolute best play, White gets like a 0.4 advantage. I did not remember that best way. I've literally never faced this system, maybe like maximum 5 times, even in Blitz. And I've played this line maybe like 300 times. So yeah, it was kind of an opening knowledge problem for me. I didn't quite know, and it sucks, but it happens. So I have 2 out of 3. I didn't summarize the whole game. And then, because I didn't take this chance, it was just sort of equal the whole game. I thought, I guess maybe in the end game I could have put my king on a different square and kept pushing, but it's a draw. It's life. It happens. I have 2 out of 3. I think I'm losing 2.5 rating points. I mean, I'm performing at my rating. I'm obviously disappointed. Mostly, I didn't win the second game. In this game, I didn't really have any winning chances, and I think it's a lesson mostly for some of you. It's not even a lesson for me. This is a very long journey. I'm not going to show up and win every single tournament I play. Sometimes I'm going to have some draws. Sometimes I'm going to play 9 hours of chess and lose 3 rating points, which is what happened yesterday. And it's all just, adding to the barrel of knowledge and the experience and, making better decisions at future moments. So I'm not worried at all. I am happy I got some sleep and I'm ready to play today. And I'm going to prepare for my next opponent and life goes on. But some of you guys got to chill, this is not a journey that's going to succeed even in maybe 1 or 2 years. It will take more than that. I mean, it's a lot of content. I would love to show up to every tournament and win and get a GM norm, but I'm not that good yet. So, well, we're getting there. Slowly getting there. Round 4 on the way. It is streaming to my YouTube channel. Coach is commentating. That's all I have for you for now. 33% off courses sale. Check it out. Check out the Patreon. Appreciate you all. See you for round number 4. Get out of here.